I'm gonna assume he'll be back shortly.
The podcast is live. It says it's live.
It's holy shit. How the hell do we manage to go live without JD?
Oh man,
dude! Now we're live.
It says it is.
Awesome. Hold on, guys. 1 second. That was what the fuck. That's my luck, guys.
I don't see it on the YouTubes currently, but
it says we're broadcasting.
Currently.
Okay, it's going. Maybe. If my video wants to play, that would be cool. Dude, nothing. This is how this is gonna go. Really. This is awesome. Way to go.
No, it's showing live.
Technology is kicking my ass tonight, everyone. I just want you to know that.
Technology is not for the extra tonight, man.
This is exactly how we rehearsed it.
What's up, everybody? Glad you can make it. As you can see, we had some fun with some technical difficulties right off the fucking bat. Like, kicked me out before we'd let me go live. We're doing good. So I'm going to have to take a drink to that. So with that, welcome back. This is part 2 of book 3, The Alliance to Land. With me, as always, is AK and Luke that joined us on the last book. I'm glad he joined us because it's nice to have another person with us talking about this because it's such an epic story to have 3 people sitting here bullshitting about it. It works. So we'll go with Luke, introduce Luke first, and then we'll go to Alicia.
Hey, yeah, glad to be back. This is a very, very fun book series. I've enjoyed getting into it. I'm surrounded by children tonight, and they might be making appearances whether I like it or not, just to let you know.
Okay.
But we'll see. Hey, look, here's another one. We'll see how this goes. But yeah, no, this is an awesome book. I'm glad we actually are going to get the chance to finish it all up. You know, we left it a really exciting scene last time.
Yeah. Alicia.
Indeed. I'm glad that we are back. And tiny humans are always awesome. So I'm going to say yay, pro tiny humans, that they can make all the appearances they want. And yeah, again, I'm here with the dragon, with the Lucifer. And if you are wondering, what is this thing on AK's screen? This is that's me, bitch. Look closely. My pack brother, Johnny Green Hands, he made this for me a while ago. I have not had a chance to use it or properly showcase it. So, like, you know, the fire effect with the raining fire, I put that in, but the overall background of the picture, that was all him. Got me in with the Valyrian steel fedora and the dual. He knows I'm a dual wielder, so of course I got 2 weapons and 1 to spare on the belt, with the kick-ass looking armor and the pin that's right there clipping my cape on. That is my house sigil. So yeah, he hooked me up and now I'm showing it.
Nice.
Enjoy. You're welcome.
All right, so quick recap of book 3. He comes off submissions. When he comes back, he's got some captives and what he thinks are, you know, somebody that had been rescued, and it ends up actually really biting him in the ass in worse ways than one. Because he has something really bad happen to him, and if you want to know what happened, you got to go back and see that, because I don't even want to repeat it. I listened to it again when I listened to the whole book just so I could have a refresh on the book, and I still cringe every time that scene.
It's still that bad.
Yeah,
it's still that bad.
It's still that.
Dude, I don't even want to go back over that. Going by that part of the book.
And you know, I love Doc Kong. He's a phenomenal writer, but some doctor, you put a little too much detail into certain situations. That was one of those certain situations that didn't need that much detail.
It's almost like he's showing off. Right?
Mm-hmm. Like, I know exactly what happens when this happens, dude. We don't need to know. But still, in the end, Richter ends up catching the assassins and exacting his revenge and rescuing Tarad. So that's where we actually left off, is where he had actually held the freaking bomb above his head and blew her to Kingdom Come. They got into a fight in the water, and he actually ends up coming out on top. So where we pick up is basically him waking up on the beach. AK, if you want to take off from there, let's get it on.
Let's see. Okay, he wakes on the beach, and he's still trying to get his bearings. As you do after you got to blades meant to maximize the amount of bleeding and pain that you feel stuck in your back, and you've basically had to kick the all-powering heck out of two master assassins who you were not prepared for, because they were so clever in their shielding of their identities. You thought you were just going to be handling some random rogue warriors, and yeah, Richter, you got your ass properly kicked. So yeah, my boy's going in and out of consciousness, and that's a thing to be expected. The first time he wakes up, he's trying to figure out why there's two suns and extra glowing and whatnot. Goes out again, comes back, and he looks around. And he's like, okay, I remember why I'm here. I think I remember what happened. And he looks over and he sees Sunray's body, like half hanging into the river that he is also still hanging half into in his semi-conscious state. Mm-hmm. So he sees that the current's about to wash her away, and he was gonna let it go because, again, he's in a hell of a lot of pain. He barely has any strength or stamina left. But then he remembers, no, this bitch has like all of my cool shit, and I need to go get it back before it's lost forever. So he manages to pull himself up, pull her out the water, at the very least, saving his stuff. And then, of course, he passes out again. Comes to, and he starts going through, and he gets all of his goodies back. But he also finds some extra swag. And we know Richter loves swag, so that kind of just made it all worth it for him. So he's sitting there going through. He sees that he's leveled up some. Alma's leveled up some. And life is kind of okay right now. He's in pain and he wants to go home, but he still counts it as a job well done. And I just always find that funny because, Richter gets himself into some amazing feats. Sometimes it's not always his fault, but 9 times out of 10, everybody has that one friend that for whatever reason is always going to end up in some shit. I feel like if me and Richter were friends, he would be that guy. Like every time I'd get a call and be like, damn it, Richter, here we go. Coming shit. That's just what it seems like what happened with this guy. But I don't mind that because it just shows to me how real he is, because he makes no apologies for the type of person that he is and for his outlook on life. I mean, like, to take it back a little bit, Scion has asked him a lot, like, if he thinks about his old life and that fact that he's never able to go home, he'll never see his family again. And Richter's like, I mean, yeah, that's sad, but I was always raised to move forward and live in the moment and make the best out of what I have going on at the time. And that's what he's been doing. And I love that about him because, yeah, you could cry and whine and be sulky about never being able to get back to your home on Earth. I mean, I don't know why you would do that, especially if you're a chaos seed. But some people would love to get back to their home and be around their normal family and whatnot. I would probably be like Richter. I don't know about you, gentlemen, but I'm in a land of awesome magic, and I've been getting more and more powerful every week that I'm here. I'm already past levels that I would never have gotten to if I was sitting on my couch playing the game. Now my life is the game. I will find that a lot more pleasurable. But that's just me. So eventually Richter ends up starting to make his way back home. And then some more shenanigans come in. Now I'm gonna cut off there. So where you guys want to go with that?
Say, Luke, if you want to, after he goes through all that, what happens next to the poor guy?
So I'm not going to say that I memorized the chronology of the whole book, so I'll be more.
Ad-libbing's just fine.
Yeah, so I'll leave that to you guys. But I have a couple of comments on the assassins themselves. Like, they pulled the wool over his eyes so hard. Like, they were so good at hiding their true level from him that he was just like, why did I ever trust that they were level 6s and that this would just be no problem? And he goes and just gets his ass kicked like hard. He deserved it. Like, it's one of those, you knew that she was an assassin. Like, they're gonna have some shit up their sleeves, and they also have some really dangerous weapons like this ripper that goes in smooth, but it just guts you when you pull it out, like reverse serration type deal. And he should not have rushed in that hard. And I think you're right, Alicia, about he's a guy that maybe acts before he thinks to an extent, and he's going to consistently do the right thing, but sometimes maybe be overly aggressively doing the right thing without really preparing. And I just see that consistently going and kind of biting him in the ass, as you guys both were mentioning. So
yeah, that was definitely a situation he probably should have brought like Scion and a few sprites with him. Like he should have had some backup in that situation.
He had Alma at least, right?
He did have Alma. But
he had Alma, and for a while he had that like really super duper souped up dire type thing.
Yeah.
So after he does that, he ends up basically he realizes he's got a fucking dagger stuck in his back. When he wakes up on the beach, and Alma can't pull it out, so he ends up getting it. He ends up, and I'm gonna tell you this would hurt like a motherfucker. He ends up wedging himself in an oak tree with the knife, and basically drops and lets it pull it out, and he can feel the bone getting pulled with it. And that would hurt like hell. So after he goes through all the assassin stuff, he ends up going back to the warrior, finds some really cool armor, stuff like that. So then he decides he's going to wait and he'll move at night. When he gets to that point, he starts doing the stealth thing, and then something really bad happens. He starts feeling tremors in the ground, and he refers to what the hell's his name? Goldman, the dude from Jurassic Park, the guy that played the Grandmaster on Marvel Thor. The hell's his name?
It's about Goldblum.
Yeah, Jeff Goldblum. He pulls it. He talks about the chaos, and he's sitting there going, "Yeah, this is wrong," because he can feel the tremors, he can see the water shaking, and he's like, "I gotta move." And Futon is like bleeding a bit, so he has Futon dim him. He ends up doing some spells. He ends up coming face to face with a rock giant, and he ends up getting his ass kicked all over again trying to beat this guy. And his only way he escaped is he actually ends up finding a cave, and he jumps into it. When he lights up, when he's looking at it with Futon and they're lit up, and then he realizes, oh shit, the rock giant can see this too, shut the light off. And so he tells Futon to shut his light off. He looks around and it's rock, but the top of the dome is dirt. So he kind of like crunches himself in the corner, and the rock giant ends up breaking the freaking ceiling in. And when he does that, Richter ends up tumbling down through a tunnel, a cobalt tunnel at that, into it, hitting his head and knocking himself out cold again. Like,
to interject real quick, this is probably one of the only situations where I won't necessarily blame Richter first, because he was actually well off in stealth mode, and he was only using his dark magic, so that couldn't be seen. Futon's punk ass decided to come in with all of the ridiculousness that he always is, with his lights shining super bright, and that is what made the rock giant notice where Richter was. Like, damn it, Futon, you should read the room, my guy. You see I'm trying to hide over here. You know I'm already hurt. Why, sir? Why?
That's like trying to blame the mindless computer for being on when you leave it on.
Right.
Like
Futon ain't mindless. Oh
that he just follows directions. Like,
well, you know,
he
and
has to be given a specific
command.
list of instructions. So I think it comes back to Richter on this one. But,
Yeah, and so you know, Rick turns to and he realizes he's in the Cobalt Cave, and so he's asking Futon a bunch of questions, and eventually, you know, Futon goes, "Well, I can transport back to the source," and he goes, "You can do what?" He goes, "Why didn't you tell me this?" And he like does the Austin Powers, you know. He goes, "I'm the boss. You're supposed to tell me these things." Jeez, and he's like, "Well, again." You didn't ask, my lord. And like we talked about last time, he doesn't, if you're not going to ask the question, he ain't going to give you the fucking answer, period. And so he realizes he's in the cave of Cobalt's. So he tells Futon to just disappear, scout ahead, and there's a patrol coming. And it's actually a witch and one. There's two of them. There's a witch and then another one. And he ends up casting his slave spell, creation spell, to where they become his slaves, and he realizes that his map is a little insufficient from the last time he came across the Cobalt, and what he thought would be an easy journey ends up being something like 100 and something miles to even the cave entrance to get to where he was in the catacombs below his village. He realizes he's pretty freaking lost. He really does.
well, when he was in the Cobalt tunnels earlier in this book, right, he realizes, wow, this is a total labyrinth. Like, this is just insane. And like, you know, he was having them draw maps. And if like we get to that again, where he just like instantly is aware this time that he's not going to have any chance of doing this without help from somebody that knows. Like, it's just a losing battle from day one, trying to work his way through these tunnels. And yeah, it's what the weak charm that he uses on them to kind of coerce them to work with them. And it seems like that lasts a long time with this witch. Like, it seems like he kind of is able to keep on that and use her abilities for quite a while. And
it ends up, it really does. She ends up helping him out quite a bit. She really does. You know, this part of this book always reminds me of Skyrim. When you go down into the freaking caves in Skyrim and you wander and wander and wander and wander, and if you make the wrong turn, you get lost. Like, you're fucking lost. Go ahead, AK.
I was just gonna agree with you. Like, it's a huge labyrinth underneath there. Like, I feel like the maze makers of Laura from Song of Ice and Fire series would be impressed by this damn labyrinth that's around here. And it's not owned by just one clan of kobolds. There are many that they have their own territories within those mazes, but they do all still set traps to make sure that the other clans can stay far away from their domain down there. And this is one of the things that has just always fascinated me with the Mist Village and all of the surrounding lands, because if you go way back in the histories, all of that and all of those species that hold power within that region were all under the Lord of the Mist Village. And we'll see that a little bit later with more places that Richter finds to explore around the village. And this also is, again, where I have to say Richter is one of the luckiest people alive in the land right now. Because, you know, he's supposed to explore his land. You know, that's one of his quests. He's supposed to find these things and progress from there. And a lot of times he ends up, you know, trying to make allies, or if there's enemies, him and his allies get rid of them. Here, what he finds in this cave eventually is basically another boon that isn't afforded to a lot of powerful places. Even the sprites, they don't even have this item. And what he walks up on after he takes the mage into his service is a crystal garden.
Yep.
And those crystals are used for a lot of forging, not just of weapons, but they could be ground down, used in potions and buildings and all types of cool things. Like this is these crystals is basically like the vibranium of the land. You can weave it into almost anything that you could want to add its magical properties to. And Richter gets in here. There's a few workers here for him to contend with, and he wants the crystals, but he specifically wants to go after the core of the crystal so he can take it and make his own crystal garden. Again,
Well, he
something
finds
else
out.
that he's lucked up on.
Yeah, because he found out, because he's like, what are these like grow sporadically throughout the underground tunnels and stuff? And the lady's like, no, this one they have cores, like they have a magical core. That's how these crystals grow.
Mhm.
And that's
It's
when
his
Richard's
third
like,
magic
okay.
core now.
He's like, okay, I want this core from this garden. And she goes, well, it does have a guardian, and depending on how old the crystal is, or the focus crystal is, depends on how powerful the guardian is. And he goes, well, how old is it? And he goes, well, it's been around for at least 50 years.
Yeah, she was like decades.
Yeah.
Years. Half
Yeah.
a century of
Yeah.
power is what you're about to have to fight. And you're
So-
already running half on fumes.
Richter being decides it's a really good idea to get this focus crystal.
I have some thoughts about that.
Go
About
for
it.
it.
Please,
Good
come
idea.
through.
I really love the way Richter kind of like questions himself when he's making decisions like this, and he's like telling himself, yeah, she's taking me to this like super powerful thing, like just the crystal garden itself, and if I destroy this, like that's like centuries of work that these people have been working for, and I'm just gonna like wipe it out. And just, should I do that? Like he really hesitates at one point of like, does this make me the same as like the overbearing capitalist that back on Earth he was kind of against, and here's another child. But I just love how he very much like second guesses going into there to even do anything. Hey buddy, you say hi.
Hey.
You got s'mores all over your face. You are a total
Of
mess.
course I do.
You're a total mess.
I love that response. He says, of course I do. He's a child, Luke. They get sticky when they eat things. I love it though. Please continue.
Yeah, so yeah, it was just I love how he even like feels bad about like using his weak charm on, I think her name's Infoda is the mage.
Yeah, that's something close to that.
And
yeah.
He's like, man, I'm having her do this against her will to literally destroy like probably the most important thing for their entire clan that they've been working for. He just still does it. He's just like, well, I guess we'll just live with it and continue on with our lives.
It's better if I have it than these horrible little scallywags that ain't going to use it properly.
Yeah.
It does. I do give him credit though, because he does always think about that, and I believe that's his heritage coming through, and trying to reconcile what he has to do really with what he wants to do and how he goes about doing it. So I can't say I wouldn't have taken it either, because that is a ridiculously valuable source of anything in the land. So I probably would have made the same decision he did. Can't even lie.
Yeah, well, he ends up getting his ass kicked again. Bad. Bad. Like, he gets lucky having that mage with him, that Cobalt mage, because if he didn't have her, he would have got his ass literally handed to him, because it kills like 2 other Cobalts. He ends up like sticking it with stinking mud. He hits it with his most powerful imbued arrow. He hits it with his grease spell and burns it. Like, he does a bunch of shit to this thing, and it takes a minute.
A long time.
Well,
that was at least a half-hour battle.
Yeah, and what he realizes, because he stabs it at one point in time, and when he pulls his sword free, the crystal starts healing itself, and he's like, oh shit. So he ends up like going into like crazy fast like cut mode and just goes to hacking this thing to literally pieces till it's all fallen. This construct is completely fallen completely apart, and he finally finds the focus crystal, and when he analyzes it, it literally says seasoned crystal. Like this is a top of the line core to get. Like it's badass. I mean, he is set with this thing. And like we've talked about in the past, there is seriously somebody watching this man's back, making sure by the time when whatever's about to go seriously fucking wrong in the land, Richter's going to be extremely powerful and ready to butt heads with it. Because even throughout 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8, I mean, this man goes through hell every book. He gets drugged through hell and literally gets to the point where he's either just about to die or he does die and then ends up having to come back and rebuild. It's phenomenal. But he ends up getting that focus crystal and he hears some chirping sounds and he ends up deciding, okay, I was going to kill this mage anyway, but I think right now my best bet is to make her a distraction. And so I'm going to send her down the lane to distract these guys, and I'm basically going to fucking book it. So he lets her go.
Hold on.
Yeah, go ahead.
There's one quick scene that you missed, and this actually ties into the band of warriors that are now coming at him.
Oh, go ahead.
The fight, Richter thinks that it's the sounds of the fight echoing in the tunnels that alerted the other guards to his presence there. But I don't think that's what it was. What actually alerted them was a special hidden boon that he found behind a cleared portion in the stone wall of the crystal cave there. And it's a very, very important artifact that he doesn't know what it is yet. He doesn't even open it until the very end of this book. And it's so special that I'm pretty sure as soon as he touched it or even exposed it to air, some alarm bell went off somewhere with that clan that it belongs to. And that's what alerted them that, we need to go get to the Crystal Cave because this bastard is about to steal our legacy. Yeah, they're going to be upset about the Crystal Cave no longer being growing crystal or whatnot. But what Richter took in that chest is far more important. That's why he's on the run now.
Oh yeah, I forgot about the chest. I really did.
There is one other thing that happened that he puts the mage to use in. Yeah. So when he's down in these caves, it's very, very dark, and they have night sight just naturally, and he, being a human, doesn't. And so he actually has her teach him some alchemy, right? He's now got level 1 in alchemy. Like he did his first alchemical, potion or tincture, and or it was just a brew, I think it was, because there's different levels as you go up. But like that's a whole new skill set that he has, and the one that he's able to make only lets him see 50 feet in front of him, and it only lasts for like 15 minutes. So like that's a whole other thing that he's contending with throughout all of this of, making sure he's drinking that while he's going so he can actually see what he's doing. And just another skill set that somehow he lucks into again, right? Just over and over again.
Yeah, and he about threw up with the flavor of it because it's literally
that was cobalt, a disgusting concoction.
It was literally cobalt eyeballs ground down into paste. Like, yeah, that would be disgusting. All right, so back to where we were at. I guess I did miss some parts in there. Anyway,
I think that's it.
So he ends up sending the mage to distract him, and it works, and he takes off like a bat out of hell. And then he either realizes he doesn't know, and it like flashes back. He goes, months later, Richter still doesn't know if it was the spell off that, Infota ended up turning around and coming back at him, or just luck of the draw. But he's like, I can't wait. I'm going to break daylight. These fuckers can't come out in the sun. It's going to be nice. And he hits the opening of the cave, and it's fucking raining. And it's not just raining. It's like straight downpour, like coming. And he walks out and literally goes,
the luck has to end.
Universe, you're a dick.
Oh, yeah.
And just screams, why?
He's just pissed.
Yeah,
just
well, I can't blame you because he knows what time of day it is because he talked to Futon and Futon's like, no, it's daytime. And then he comes out and it's just downpour, like blackout, no sun. So now he has to contend with these little fuckers coming outside and chasing him, and they're riding centipedes, right? That was what they were riding, was basically a centipede.
Ew.
Yeah. And he talks about when it opens up its jaw and he can see all the teeth inside of it and shit. And basically what he does is he plays hide and go seek with them. After he sends Futon off to get help, he plays hide and go seek with them until nightfall, and he gets close to a village. And then he decides, okay, it's time to play ball. AK, if you want to take it from here, do not go into the scene past this little battle. We'll talk about that in a second. So,
All right. Yeah, it's actually some relatively short to start with on how Elrond usually writes battles. Like JD said, he's basically playing hide and seek with them because now that he's back in the open, he doesn't have the sun that he wanted to count on his escape. So he recognizes what part of the forest he is in now. So he makes it a point to get away from them and then be seen, and then get away again and then be seen. And he does this like 7 or 8 times, maybe even up to like 10 or so times. And then he lets them catch up with him. And, there's a whole, shit talking back and forth that happens. And Richter's like, look, I understand you're upset that I took your crystal core. And the guy's like, you know why we're here. You know what you took. And it's not clicking still in Richter's head. Even at the end of the book, it's not clicking what he actually has. And of course, Richter is a pop culture whore, which is one of the great things that I love about him. And he's like, you just got to be careful when you come into somebody else's house. You don't just come into a man's house and go all up in his fridge or walking all over the place like you own stuff. Be careful how you speak to me. And the guy's like, oh, so what? This is your house? You and your petty words and whatnot are going to stop us from killing you right now? He's like, no, it's not my house. It's theirs. And in true Richter fashion, he just says, say hello to my little friends. And there, he is joined by his allies. He's in the sprite part of the forest of Nadria, and the boys come through. Sprites do not play. I don't care how small these creatures are. I think by our standards, they actually probably look very similar to like little Asian children of the forest beings. Like that's how tiny they are. And I
always thought of them as the Asian version of hobbits, like halflings.
They're about the same size as the children. Yeah, that sounds about right.
Yeah, that's what I always thought about when he talks about sprites was, the size. They were about halfling. They were about the size of a 10-year-old child that's 4 foot, whatever. And that's what I always thought of sprite. So before we go into this next scene, I'll let Luke go into some of the things he liked about this battle. But before we go into the next scene, what I want to do, what I told you guys I was going to do is I was going to ask you a question. And whoever gets this question right is going to get a copy of The Way of Kings by Brandon Sanderson, the first book of the Stormlight Archives. So the question is, who is the leader of the sprite that saved Richter? I'll ask it one more time. Who is the leader of the sprites that saved Richter? Okay, Luke, what did you think about this whole battle scene?
I thought it was really cool. This is like the second time in just a couple chapters where we had a bit of a hide and seek type scene, right? He did the same thing with the rock giant where he's just, it's not necessarily the hide and seek, like, show him that, so he keeps chasing you, but it was much more of the just, I need to keep getting the fuck away. Like, I'm just going to continue to, like, this is like, just like a different spin on a similar kind of, I'm trying to get away, but to a certain level. I really liked this part. It was pretty cool how he just eggs them on, and of course some of his one-liners are always phenomenal. They're just like you said. I think pop culture whore is pretty well placed, and he's just a fun character. When he gets chances to I think this is completely a totally different topic, but like when he's talking to Futon or like anybody in his own village, and he's like, God damn idioms, like they don't know what I'm talking about. Like it's just like the most basic things to us, but here he can just use it almost as like a confusion tactic. Like he can do stuff like that and not feel guilty about it because they're not really trying to communicate. He's just trying to thwart them and then fight them. So it's a pretty cool section of the book. A little bit quicker than some of the other fights for sure.
Yeah,
but,
it went quick because literally the kobolds look back and all they see is lights, and I love it. He goes, now the kobolds have another reason to fear the light. And then it's just a barrage of imbued arrows that explode, and it ends up actually KOing Richter. Like he gets knocked the fuck out. And yeah, it was it hurt him. Come on, people, I need somebody to throw me an answer, because it's literally going into this next scene. Now I will let Luke and AK answer this question. So who would like to, since nobody in the chat is going to answer my question?
We'll give them until the end of the video,
because
or at least till near the end. But I'll just say we won't say that person's name. This is a character we're going to talk about, people, but we're not going to say his name. You got to either remember him from memory or go look it up.
Yeah,
it's not hard to find. This is a very easy question.
It is. So anyway, so he gets saved by this person, and she's flirty with Richter.
she's a cougar, man. She's totally a sprite cougar.
Oh man, she is the total opposite of her sister. Complete total opposite of her sister. Her sister's very, controlled and kind of angry, and her sister's very flirty. Like I love when Richter wakes up and she goes, "Yeah, it was really hard bringing you back from the dead."
He's like, "Wait, what?" And the look of confusion on his face is just so great. She just starts laughing. She can't even hold it. She's like, I'm just fucking with you, man. I was just playing. But we did have to to do this healing spell and do this. But and as a thank you for just being the person that you are. Our countrymen have told us the good stuff that you're doing. So I did this for you. And basically, half of Richter's face was like all scarred from fire and battle and all of that. And she's such a great life mage and healer that she fixed all that.
Yeah.
So she had to cut his hair off. His hair is going to have to grow back, but she made it so he got the pretty looks back.
I love it because this is where Alaron will actually project himself into Richter a little bit, because he's like, I was a medical student. I know when you're out for a few days, you still defecate yourself. And I really don't want to know who was cleaning my ass.
Yep. He's like, I need to send whoever was doing that an extra gift basket. And that's the thing. Richter, in the real world, he was a doctor. So that's another great thing of how we can see like Alaron projecting himself into Richter, because they both have that medical training. It's kind of awesome. And she basically just, she gives him the rundown, but she is very flirty. I wouldn't say she's the exact opposite of her sister, but she doesn't have the responsibility that Sumiko has. So she's able to be a bit more lax in her interactions with people. She doesn't have to completely keep that regalness that Sumiko has. So, Richter's standing up and he's basically only covered by a bed sheet. Mm-hmm. And she straight up, goes for the buttocks. And it's like, it's really nice. I'm glad you made it. I would hate to see such a cute butt like this go to waste. And Richter's like, okay. He doesn't quite know how to handle this little sprite lady talking to him like this. He's not ready for the cougar. That's looking at him at all.
And all he says is, he goes, "I'm naked, ain't I?"
Right, and then and after that, she squeezes as an answer, like, yes, you are naked, as a matter of fact. So he jumps back and he's like using his hand, to cover up the jingles and whatnot. And then, she messes with him for a little bit more, but then she leaves and sends in somebody with his armor. They tell him, the armor was repaired. So, get dressed. There's a bunch of food. He tries to call and check on Alma. Alma is being Alma. She's laid up purring on the table full of food, being fed by one of the sprites. So she's perfectly happy and healthy. She doesn't want to be bothered. She really can't even be bothered to say, hi, I'm glad you're okay. He just said, Alma, where are you? It is the only reply. And he sees, it's like, oh, you greedy damn glutton. Go on, eat. Never mind then, Alma.
And this is well after he ups her intelligence a couple times so that she can speak in like multi-sentence language now. And she's like, oh, thank you. You made me so much smarter. Like I can communicate better. I love you. It's just like, oh, that's weird. Like,
and then he totally regrets it.
Yeah.
Because she ends up popping off at him really good. And he goes, in any situation, is it really smart for a man to up a woman's intelligence?
Which is it's a little bit dodgy of a statement, but I know the sentiment that he has behind it, so I'll allow it. I would say
there are quite a handful of nearly crass, like misogynistic tendencies.
Borderline,
yeah. I could see someone who's sensitive to that being bothered reading this book.
Say Alaron has figured out how to walk that line and just kind of put his toes on the other side of it just to make it funny, but not actually try to offend somebody.
Right. Yeah. And that is why I can see my way clear as a woman to give him a pass on that. He's not doing it maliciously by any means.
No.
If that was the vibe I was getting, I absolutely would not enjoy this story as much.
Again, I could see someone who's maybe sensitive to it feeling like it's too much. I mean, I get it. I think
I can see it, but I think he walks that line just to the point where it's like, okay, that was funny. Like I can get that.
Right. Yeah. Trouble worthy. Let's go and move on with the story. And then he walks outside and he takes a look around to see where he is, and he notices that he was actually inside of the heart tree, which is a ridiculous, huge, high honor. He literally, in how many centuries the heart tree has been there, is the only human or the only non-sprite period that has ever been invited in. But because of all of the good that he has been doing in helping the sprites and also just helping people that need help when he knows about them, they think, the people that are in charge think that it's a worthy prize for him to have. And he is very respectful about it. He absolutely knows the majesty, that he's being the gratitude that he's being shown. And I think it's also great because he always appreciates that. And that's where I'm at. JD, you want to move along?
So he gets, he tells her, he goes, hey, thank you for, I didn't realize I was in the heart tree. He goes, yeah, you're the only non-sprite to ever stay inside the heart tree, so you better feel really fucking special.
Yeah, enjoy it, lucky bitch.
Exactly.
And it just fits her character so well of just being able to just be like, no, like it's pretty special. Like, you should feel completely honored. Like, this is a big deal. Like, don't miss that point.
Yeah. Don't take that for granted because we can strip you over real quick, dude.
Oh yeah.
Right. Like she's serious with that for all of maybe 30 seconds.
Yeah.
When she says, we heard all that you do. We thank you for it. You do deserve it.
Yep.
And then she gets right back to the jokes. Like I would love to sit and have a drink with this woman. Seriously, I'm sure she has an abundance of stories to tell.
She would be, if I had to pick somebody to sit and drink with besides Richter and Scion, it would definitely be this late. Oh, and Crom. I can't forget Crom. I would love to sit and listen.
Yes.
I would love to sit and listen to Crom talk about his wives. Like that shit would. I would laugh for hours at that man talking about his wives because all he does is take digs at his wives constantly.
there was one early in this book because I just re-listened to the whole book today and yesterday, and really the other two books this week just to mentally get ready for it. But there was one early in this book where he's just like, man, she's uglier than all of my first wives or whatever. So it's just like, so
and it's
harsh.
not even wives. It's like his first wife, his second wife, his third mistress, his fourth girlfriend. Like, wait, dude, how much dick are you slinging in the land, Crom?
Crom
What is happening here?
Crom is just as bad as Richter is when it comes to getting with the ladies.
Goodness.
But Crom has his eyes set on Sumiko, and I think it comes up in the next.
It'll come up in the next book. Yeah, Sumiko.
Yeah. She catches.
No. Is it Sumiko or
Yes.
or?
Yes, it is Sumiko.
No. Yeah, okay, I was mixing her up with
The
Sion's
Hearth Mother.
Yeah.
No, it's Sumiko. It's not the Hearth
Sumiko,
Mother.
the healer. Yeah, you're right.
But he gets smitten enough by her that you see Crom kind of go head over heels quick for her, and he goes running fast. But anyway, so
it sounds like a Tormund Brienne situation.
Right.
You know what? That is the perfect analogy.
And I have not read that book yet, so I what it sounds like.
When you see it, you're gonna laugh, especially when you see the lengths that he will go to just to try to have her go on a date with him. Forget sex or anything. He just wants to be able to spend time with this woman. Like, that's how you know it's real. The thirst is real for Crom.
So anyway, Rick actually figures out where he is, and he's close to his glade where he first appeared, and he kind of like memory backtracks to meeting the little imp demon Xerxes. He backtracks to the first time he met Sion and the rest of the sprites because he's at the hearth tree. And so he takes off and he goes. And when he gets to the glade, he says something he doesn't do on a regular basis, but he says thank you to the guy that created the pond that gives him this elixir, and I can't remember the potion of clarity or whatever it is.
The pool of clarity.
And so he thanks the guy for making this, and he thanks the universe for putting him in that position to have this because nobody else can access it except him. So that's what he does.
I can't wait until we meet whoever Richter's benefactor is. I have a suspicion on who it is, but I have absolutely no context clues at all. It's just a feeling.
It's somebody that you kind of see that's playing both sides of the light and the dark court. They're kind of in the middle of everything. But anyway, so he fills up his vials, and he knows he's going to get his ass chewed because he went without protection. He was supposed to have freaking guards wherever he went. And he returns, and she literally rips his ass. Like, she gets at him. And she's like, why did you leave? Why did you go? Why didn't you take your guards? And this and that. And he goes, well, you know how I win every argument with a woman. I hand her something shiny. There's another one of those that's kind of on that borderline.
It's slightly borderline, but
it was funny in the context.
Again, I'll allow it because it's funny.
Yeah,
if there's truth to it.
I mean, right? The context is not lost on me, is what I'm saying. All he's doing is telling the truth.
Yeah, so you kind of giggle, and he ends up giving her like what, three vials of it?
It's like three or four vials of potions of clarity. Yeah, and she's again has that serious moment with him because she was genuinely concerned. But then that trickster personality that she's got comes right back out. It's like, yeah, you look, you got a cute butt. Give me my damn shit. Let me go back to my business.
It always comes back to his cute butt every freaking time.
I mean, I can't be mad. I'm an ass lady myself, so I get it. I get it.
So he gives her that, and then he's like, all right, I really need to go home because I know I sent Futon to tell the Hearth Mother and Sumiko and Sion and Tarad's probably returned by now. Like, my village is probably freaking out. Where am I at? So I probably should head home. And so he does. And he has a guard of sprites with him. And when they are closer to the Mist village, the person that's with him ends up sending out a scout because they've seen some tracks, and what they end up fighting is a camp of bugbears, which is what he always wants to find camping outside of his mists.
Fucking bugbears! Oh, I hate bugbears.
Well, that's what
they are.
You get
little
wizards that are
shits.
drunk on magic and decide, hey, let's create something that's mixed between animal and
Right, like who decided to create all of these damn species? Like, were y'all really that bored and high off of whatever concoction y'all make in the land, whatever your equivalent of milk of the poppy is? And you're like, here, look, let's do this. And then all of a sudden there's a random demon pixie running around. Like, why, man? Why?
Right.
Bugbears are the result of sorcerous experimentation blending cave bears with goblins.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Sweet. And then, you know, that one kind of reminded me of the Wheel of Time, where the Dark One takes humans and animals and, you know, and you get Trollocs.
Yeah, just to see what would happen.
Yeah, it's like, come on, man. Why do we do this?
To me, it really feels a lot like in Tolkien, you know, the creation of the orcs. It's like perverting a certain race for specific need. I mean, it's just like dog breeding too. Like, this is the specific thing that I want this creature to have. So you do these experimental type, you know, breeding or, you know, whatever, crossover speciesizing. And like, I think, you know, if like we want some of these cool things that goblins have, but with the size and strength of a bear, like I think that's probably the idea, to be this warlike weapon for whoever it was that created them. And I'm not saying I'm going to be out there creating a bugbear army myself, but I can see the use. I can see there's benefits to it.
Right.
Yeah, they basically ran their own island of Dr. Moreau just to see what they could do, pretty much.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's it's horrible. So they find this encampment, and Richter, being Richter, is like, well, we kind of need to get these guys out of here, so we're going to fight them. And they do. And Richter gets his ass kicked a little bit more.
Yeah,
this is still just like
2 weeks of getting his ass kicked back to back and shit.
This whole book is 11 days.
Mm-hmm.
This is day 100
of Richter getting stomped on.
Yeah. And like even the giant chase, the kobold tunnels, that was yesterday or the day before, like 5 days ago, I guess, because he passed out for a couple days, right?
Yeah.
But, yeah, that was day 95 that all of that pretty much happened. So
yeah, like he has, you know,
he can never say he gets bored.
No, he doesn't ever
get bored.
Yeah, he lives in a very dangerous world. Like he's got that unfortunate, you know what, I got to handle this kind of situation for the good of my people. And that's a good leader quality. Unfortunately, the way he goes at it sometimes is a very bad leader quality, because he usually tries to do it by himself or with a really small force, and it ends up almost killing him. That's what I mean. Like almost every book, he gets this close to either dying or he does die every fucking time. And it's
he actually does get a reset button where like he brings people along. He knows that they don't. So that could potentially be why he's protecting everybody by not forcing them into dangerous situations, when he knows at worst he'll just maybe lose some levels, you know, like level experience, and just have to start that over. But I think it could be a protection thing for them.
One thing you see kind of click in his head is like in the beginning of this book, when the assassin ends up killing him, and he realizes that he'd been gone a full day. And the first time he had died, he'd only been gone a half a day. In the next book, it kind of clicks, and it's already started to kind of click in his head that something's changed. Like he's like, maybe I'm not completely immortal. I'm not going to come back every time. Like he finds that out in a later book, but at this point in time, it is kind of circling in his head that he might end up actually completely dying and being stuck in the chaotic energy and not being able to get anywhere. Just done. He'd be dead. And so that's kind of bugging in his head. So at this point in time, he has, I think, a guard of like 10 sprites with him, I think is what his guard is, 10 or 12. And he takes them on. I think there was like 15 bugbears and 10 of them, or 20 of them, something like that. And Richter gets his ass kicked a little bit.
They handle it.
They win.
He gets his ass kicked, but they do handle it.
And he levels up some more, and he levels up ammo some more, and then they take off and head towards the Mist Village. Now, this part, he ends up actually attacking his own villagers. AK, what do you got on that one?
Yeah, he didn't really see that it was them and they honestly didn't see that it was him either. So they were both in just protection mode. But once they, saw who each other were and they recognized each other, they stopped. But what was it they were fighting? There was something else that they were fighting that caused them to band together, and then they had that little scuffle.
There was I think a demon or something.
Yeah, something else popped up, and they had a little skirmish.
Whatever that party was chasing through the mists.
Yeah, they were trying to go after that, I believe. And everyone ended up being safe, but there was one villager, an elf, I believe, that died. And I think had Richter just been with the sprites, there would not have been any issue. They would have fought. Yeah, they would have been hurt, but no one would have died. That regiment of patrol guards that were out should not have been that far out of the mist.
No, they
were
actually
strict orders to not do that.
Yeah, they messed up
because they wanted to chase a direwolf that had been getting closer to their lands. Okay, that's all well and good, but you go back to the captain of your guard and you report that shit. You don't just make a dangerous decision like that and then pull your whole patrol along with you. So that, I think, is horrible, and all those people, all those villagers that he has on patrol definitely need some harsher discipline, I think, to get that into their heads. I understand they were trying to make sure the lands were safe, but that's a bad move and a bad decision that was made there.
Yeah, that was dumb, and they were just trying to, they thought what they were trying to do was right, but it ends up biting them in the ass. Didn't one of them break their leg or something like that, or get an arrow in the leg?
Yeah, one of them broke his leg.
Yeah,
and one of them died. So yeah, it's horrible.
With that, they literally haul ass back to the Mist Village because they're not that far away from it now. They were right at the border of the confusing mists. They make it home. Dude gets all healed up and well, and Richter comes into kind of a chaotic mess because he has to explain what's been going on to Randolphus and Tarad and everybody, and he actually ended up completing his quest with Tarad's girl, and that ends up getting him some bonus points, not just with her but throughout the whole village, because he brought back and to his word that I am going to rescue my people. Like, I'm not just going to let them go and let them die. Like, these are my people. I'm going to protect them. And that's exactly what he did. So that was a huge boost in morale to everybody. But what the heck is it? Balon? Is that the guy that went off on the journey to Law and then come back? Was that his name, AK?
I think that's his name.
But so
I'll look it up, but continue.
So they go through some things that have been going on, and Richter's like, "Come on, no more prisoners, no more captives. Like, just I don't want to deal with that shit. This is bad. I've already went through that already. That's why I'm in the condition I'm in." But Balon starts going with what happened back in Law. Talks about meeting Mama. Talks about meeting Calder. And Richter kind of laughs about it until he realizes how much money Calder had shaken Balon down for. And it was quite a bit, actually. Like, it was a lot of money. And Richter chuckles about it till he hears that. But he finds out he has an extra 163 people come into the village, I think is what the number was. If I remember right, it was like 163.
It's 160 something, but then on top of that, I believe he adds on like 50 or 60 that came specifically because Calder was coming.
Calder came, yeah, the guards.
So yeah, and it was funny because every time he's giving him the rundown of what happens, and then something pops up, and Richter is like, all right, continue. And he gets the rest of the information, and then Richter asks a question. Bayon's like, well, and then he gives the explanation, and it's a bit. He knows it's heavy, but then he also gives a little sweet tidbit at the end to where Richter's like, okay, I see you. All right, that's an all right trade-off. What else? Well, and this goes on for like 4 or 5 different times. that he has to explain exactly what he did and why he did it. And while it was expensive for it to happen, it honestly was the positives outweigh the bad. So it ends up working out, especially after the meeting gets started. Everyone comes in. Richter tells him what's what. He lets them know about the assassins. Tarad gets put officially into the captain of the guard role, and then he pledges his loyalty. I think after that is when they started deciding on a better interview process for everyone, and he's trying to formulate how he's going to make people that are already there also go through the new process without alienating them and making it seem like he doesn't trust them, because he does, but he again needs to be sure that he's able to protect everyone and himself, especially to keep things running smoothly. So they have to go through and make that plan. And Randolphus, of course, is always Randolphus. He's the John Aaron of this world, hand of the king. So he's got all the business already in his notes. He's writing down, taking notes as they're going. Richter asked for a specific number of something. My boy has it right there within like 10 seconds flat. And he's able to give out the projections, numbers, everything. And this is what we need to do to keep up. This is how much food we'll need. This is what we have right now with everything that's come in. We're good, but we are going to need in another 6 or 7 months so to replenish some of these things to keep it running smoothly.
Randolphus is the man, right? I mean, like everyone needs a Randolphus. Just that guy,
Randolphus, man.
He can facilitate.
You don't have to worry about shit.
And he's just got like this wealth of knowledge about just what it means to be in power. Not necessarily like wanting to have power, but just being able to handle it and deal with the day-to-day stuff so that so that Richter can just get right to the meat and potatoes, and like Randolphus kind of like collates these things for him to be most efficient as a team. I wish I had a Randolphus. God damn, I'd be so much more productive.
My life would be in so much order right now. It would be beyond ridiculous. And because you're the new reader on our squad, I really can't wait until you get to the point to where you see Randolphus's full backstory. Oh,
I can tell there's
about who has a better story than Bran the Broken. This motherfucker Randolphus has a better damn story.
So even Richter can tell there's some cool shit going on with Randolphus, right? Like early on, he's just like, man, like why would this guy have this knowledge? Like
why do you have these skills exactly?
Yeah, I find him incredibly intriguing.
When you learn about Randolphus, it just like you're like, oh. Okay,
you admire him even more.
Yeah, I respect Randolphus. I have the utmost respect for that character. Like he is a very good person. He really is. So Richter ends up getting some guards from Calder, and he also ends up getting scribes. 3 of them actually, technically, and they all 3 can do certain parts, and I can't remember all the parts, but they all have their own little special. And the one thing Richter's worried about is, I hope Balon didn't tell him I was going to pay him the same money I'm paying these guys that are doing, that live here already. I can't pay these people. The scribes I can work with, but the rest of the citizens I can't. And Balon's like, no, I didn't tell him how much it would cost, what you would pay them to do jobs and all that shit. So Richter's like, okay.
Is that Basil?
Basil, that's it.
Yeah, he's the merchant guy, right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. That's right. His name's Basil. Balon was stuck on my head for something. Oh, Balon's a little fucking gnome, dark, magic wielding bastard. That's who that is, the gnome. But so Basil gets all through everything. And you know what happens? All of a sudden, Richter walks outside, and here comes the fucking thunder, smacks the trimmers, hitting the ground. And his last words are literally, "Come on, motherfucker," and the book cuts off. That's the end of book 3. It was great. I loved it because it left you hanging. You want more.
Hold on.
Go ahead.
That's not. Are you sure?
That's not the end of book 3.
I think you might be mixing up endings.
No.
That's not the end of the book.
Yeah, it is.
That's not the end of my book.
That's not the end of this one.
The end of my book ends
The
with
end of this one is when
opening a
he
certain
opens up.
chest.
Yeah, he's opening up the cobalt chest.
Oh wait, right here. Oh, that's right. He is opening it. He gets an egg.
I think there's I think it's probably just one more chapter, if anything.
No,
Yeah, the Dolphins wants to talk to him about more stuff, but he needs a break and he needs to go sleep. And that's real. He does need to go get some proper rest. So he takes, he's got the chest in his bag of holding. He goes to I believe it's to the treasury or one of those rooms so he can start storing stuff away. And he's going through the chest and he finds all these, gold and silver coins. And he notices that there's some part of them that are ovals versus the round coins that are in circulation. And
they were like 8-sided, weren't they? They were like 8-sided coins, a couple of them.
Some of them are very special. He doesn't know exactly what they are yet, but he does put them aside. And the big thing that he sees, the special prize, and this is why the kobolds came at him the way that they did, is he breaks the seal and he gets this pop-up, you've been offered a quest.
Yep.
And what he finds is basically there's in stasis a royal cobalt child, and not just any royal, but the one bloodline that can actually pull all of the kobolds back together into one union nation like they used to be way back in the day. Right. And it starts cracking open, and once like the prompts are actually he's seeing this, he's freaking out because he's like, no, wait, no, don't give me what you got, keep it, and he tries to reseal it. And that's where the book ends.
That's right. He goes shit, and the book ends.
Yep. Oh shit.
But if you look at that in the long run could be very good for Richter having this child, because that could bring the kobolds to his side if it works out right.
And I think that's
I have no idea what's in the egg at all. I have no idea. I just hear him say, "Oh shit," as it's like scratching and like about to come out, and he's just like, "Oh god."
If you re-listen to the prompt, it gives a small tad bit of background on it. But I think way back in the day, that's exactly how things were. Like all of those species that surround the Mist Village, even the ones that are underground of the Mist Village, I think they were all allies under the board of whoever the Mist Village was. So if Richter does, you're right. Richter does have a great turn there to see what can happen with that.
I'll give you the quest. You have been offered a quest. Long live the King One. Long ago, the kobolds of the depths were ruled by a Khan caste. In a bloody culp, all of the known Khans were slaughtered. Since that time, Cobalt society in the depths has been devolved into what it is today. Will you help restore this scion to power? Help the Khan regain control of his people. Reward unknown. Penalty of failure to refuse of on quest unknown. Do you accept, yes or no? And then he goes, you know what, shit. And he didn't accept the quest yet. But that's the quest he got. So yeah, that it does tell you that he is supposed to put a Khan in power. That's his goal.
Yeah, I think that's going to be interesting. There's a few quests like that. Well, no, not a few. I guess there's less than a few, maybe about 3 that are the super long con quests that he needs to do by a certain time period. And I think a few of them he's forgotten about. You know, I can't fault him for forgetting them because there was some real stuff going down that he had to handle in the meantime. But I'm hoping that with book 9, he starts to remember to focus on all of these things.
Yeah.
Because he needs to get them taken care of, especially that blood oath that he made.
Yeah, that's a big one. Well, and when it comes to what happens in book 7, he actually almost spaced that one completely off. So, I mean, Richter has an issue of getting focused on more, like when you play a video game, you do a bunch of side missions and then you go back to the quest. Unfortunately, a lot of big quests have time stamps on them, and he has to get them done within a certain amount of time, or it ends up ending and screwing up a bunch of shit. And he forgets it. He literally spaces it because he's off doing these side quests. And so, yeah, I agree with AK. I hope by book 9 he kind of refocuses and gets back to the main quest of what needs to be taken care of in the land.
And also focuses on the damn village. Sorry, go ahead, Luke.
No. Luckily, he has this badass map with like all of that shit built into it, right? And like anywhere he's been, it's rewriting that map as he goes. Just one of the coolest pieces of
the traveler's map.
Yeah, I love it. I think that's a really, really neat aspect of this. It feels very like much, justifying how it would be if you were living in a video game where you're discovering the map as you go, right? But it feels natural for like the way it's described with the magic imbued in it, and it's just a really great tool. But I'm with you. With the spending more time in the town, like growing up playing games like Age of Empires and shit, like that's what a lot of the village building stuff feels like to me. You're putting the right people in the right positions. You're gonna get some enemy knocking on your door that's way more advanced and like further along than you are. They're gonna whoop your ass if you're not playing your cards right. And I really, really love the day-to-day aspects of getting to know the villagers and the way he goes out of his way to be a good leader. I think he actively chooses to be a good leader and lead by example, but also almost the Ned Stark of sit down and have a meal with the people that are serving underneath you. And it's just, I think he's doing a great job, and he feels like he's just wearing the hat when he's there, but he wears it well, and he is a naturally good leader, even though he might not believe that if you told him that.
Yeah, I don't think he would, because you can definitely see it when he's sitting there thinking to himself, and you're getting his inner thoughts of how he doubts himself as a leader. Like he really does doubt himself. He's like, am I doing a good job? I kind of feel like I'm failing my people. Like he really does have a lot of second guess when it comes to being a leader. But you're right, he does do an excellent job. That's what I mean when I said earlier, when Tarad got kidnapped, he wanted the revenge on that woman. He wanted to kill her. And I think if Tarad would have stayed, he probably would have taken a patrol with him to go kill her. But since Tarad got taken, he's like, you know what? I got to kind of do this more sneaky. I don't want him to get hurt. So he went by himself. And that was, this is somebody that's a really good friend of his now. And he's like, I'm not letting anything happen to this guy. So, that was a very good sign of leadership. Like, I am going to protect my village people. Like, I'm not going to let my people get killed.
And he thrusts trust onto people and allows them to do their job. And he even mentioned that, I don't know if it was this book or book 2, where he's starting to really build the village up a bit. And he's like, well, a great leader surrounds himself with people that are better than him at certain things and let them do their thing, and just, again, kind of touch and go, be, dangerous enough to communicate about it, but let them do their thing and trust them.
I think that was actually book 2 when he was talking about Randolphus, because he was kind of leery about having Randolphus run everything. And once he let Randolphus actually start taking care of things, he kind of stepped back and goes, okay. I kind of need to just chill.
Right. It was like a combination of Randolphus and Crom, both like back to back, because it was like all that same time that he was finally back in the village for a couple days, and they got a bunch of stuff done. And it was like, okay, wow, I'm surrounded by very capable people. Like, I'm just going to let them do their thing.
You can never forget about Rose Swan. Rose Swan is the baddest builder in the fucking land. Like, that man can build a longhouse in like 3 days. Like, he might crumble and all he wants is eggs and bacon for freaking food, but the man can work.
He is a man after my own heart. He would be perfectly content to have breakfast at all hours of the day, some crispy bacon and some nice soft fluffy scrambled eggs, please and thank you. And he goes about his day doing exactly what the hell he's supposed to do. Now, my one beef where he is he could make himself a bit more personable. However, for Richter's side of it, I think Richter needs to start paying a lot more attention on the actual structure and infrastructure of the village. Yeah, you need to level up. Your people need to get experience so they can level up too and whatnot. However, there are key points of experience that you're missing out on
Mhm.
because he doesn't have the appropriate buildings put into his town yet.
Right.
And he's at a level to where he should have at least one workshop that will properly give him the building tools to get work done faster. He needs a freaking town hall so he can get all of those points where the village running is concerned. And it keeps popping up in all the experience he gets when the announcer is going through it. You get points for this and this and this, but you do not get these points because your village does not have a town hall. Your village does not have a workshop. Your village does not have this. Bro, I understand you need to build houses and such, but these folks are already used to, camping out and sleeping by a fire if they need to. Do what is absolutely necessary first. Build the proper storage so your food doesn't get invaded by rats or spoils or whatnot. Build the proper town hall so you can get all of those extracurricular cool things for your village to happen and the productivity to rise. Roswan, he notices after a while, is frustrated because other folks are getting all these cool buildings to help things along, but he's still stuck in a random shed, basically, of a workshop to draw up his plans and use tools and whatnots. You need to do better, Richter, is all I'm saying. Do better.
A certain thing that happens in book 6, and it fits Rose Swan's temperament and things very well. Like what happens and where he gets placed ends up being a very particularly perfect spot for that man.
It does, and we're not going to spoil. We're not going to say it, but the one thing that makes me think of, though, again, is Richter should have utilized him a bit better in what he was building, because after a while he has to get another builder.
Yeah, I really feel like with this huge second migration that just happens at the end of this book, Richter is in a huge pivot point, right? He either has to really become the mayor, if you will, and truly just focus on the town and send people off on quests instead of him doing absolutely everything.
Yep.
Because he's very much a lead by example, which can be a detriment to an extent. Like it's great in ideal, but again, he also has Randolphus to basically run everything. So like he's got the people in place that will help him with that. But at the same time, this is a huge influx of people that it's going to take a lot of management and a lot of forethought, and it's planning. And if he's just running off doing all these quests, which are great for him, but he's got to spend some more time there, I think. And
agreed.
But at the same time, I think he has been incredibly generous to his villagers, awakening any magical ability that they have that he's able to do. Like that's so unheard of that it's a huge, boon to the whole town. And hopefully that becomes more and more, usable and productive for the town, which was his idea at the first place. But it just, I feel like he's going to run into, he needs to either spend some more time there or almost have more support for Randolphus.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Randolphus, I feel like needs his own team of underlings to help him out. The guy's good.
Maybe the scribes will be perfect for that. I don't know.
I think you're right there. Randolphus is good. He does not buckle under pressure at all. But I do think he could do well with the secretary or two to help take care of the extremely low level things, so he could focus where Richter isn't at the moment. So I'm really hoping that comes along. I mean, it does come to a head, and Richter is going to have to make some choices that hopefully he just learns from putting off things more and more.
Yeah. So, all right, guys. I want to say thank you guys for joining me on this conversation. I love talking about this series of books. It's just so much fun. I mean, the land is just it's fun. Richter does go through hell, but the way Alan puts it together, it's just a lot of fun. It's like watching, it's literally like watching somebody play a video game. It really is. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Alan Kong really seems like a guy I would love to go and have some beers with. Like, just seems like you could fit in with, like, he's just going to be the normal dude, not big fame author. It's just, hey, what's up, Alan? Like, oh, hey, how you doing? Like, what are you drinking? Like, it just seems like it would just feel so natural, just the way he writes. And I don't know. I don't feel like I get that from many other authors. I read a lot of books and things, but it just, there's a different feel to his style that just makes it feel like you'd be able to get to know him really, really quickly.
Right.
Yeah, and he is one of very few that has audiobooks that have sound effects. That's not a normal thing at all.
That's really like the only thing I've really ever heard sound effects in is like Star Wars novels, to tell you the truth. I think that's the only books I've ever heard that have actually had audio effects. So that's cool. No, Alaron, a bunch of people, I think was in Seattle or somewhere in Washington, Oregon area, put together they
did a con.
They did a mist con.
Yeah.
Alaron actually showed up and just hung out with like the 20 or 30 people who were there. He actually ended up reading the prologue and the first chapter of his new book that's getting to drop before book 9, which is called The God's Eye. So, I mean, the first video me and AK and Lab did, I mean, the guy reached out to us. He goes, you guys talked about my book for over an hour. You all want a free t-shirt? Like, very, very.
That's how personable he is. Yeah, he's such good people.
I never expected him to get a hold of us and
never
talking about it like we talked about Game of Thrones. I love the book; it's fun. It's something to talk about. I love talking about it. So it was never to get his attention or anything. So that to come across was really fucking cool. So no, Alaron's a good guy. Luke, I hope you can join us on the next one. We'll talk about it if you're down. I'm very happy to have you along with us. It's been great having you here. AK as always. My partner in crime, my sister.
You know it. You know how we do.
We have to be the guides of people that go into the land. I mean, it's a dangerous world.
one of my good friends, one of my old neighbors, told me a while ago that my mutant superpower is getting people hooked on stuff.
Right.
So and that's basically what I do. I'll tell them about a good book series, tell them about a TV show, and next thing I know, they're binging it as hard as I am. So yeah, I
was the one that got her addicted to this story.
Yep.
And Ascend Online. Ascend Online is really good too. It's another.
I gotta get back to that.
It's a good one.
I gotta get back to that. That's also another good RPG book.
I've downloaded. Haven't gotten to it yet.
I've listened to a couple different ones, and The Land and Ascend Online are probably my favorite RPGs. They're really freaking good. The Ascend Online more focuses like on a group party instead of a solo act, so it's a different aspect. They can go in and out of the video game, so I mean it's a cool little difference in the stories. But the way Luke Chilamenko writes it it's phenomenally done. So you should check it out too.
See, another talented Luke.
Another very talented Luke.
There's only a few of us.
Yeah.
I think I told you about the cave.
Yes,
book.
that was too. Yeah.
Totally different spin on it. It's worth checking out if you haven't read it before. It's from the perspective of the level, basically, of a game. It's pretty neat. It's pretty neat. It's totally different.
Interesting.
It's comical.
Put that in our Chaos Siege chat, please, so I can find it later and I don't forget about it.
Yeah, I'll let you know. It's freaking funny, actually. It's really freaking funny. The way the guy projects the talking of the cave. Like, he's like, oh, look, this and that. And then he gets this person.
You just killed all these people. Congratulations. Like,
he ends up attaching himself to this other little being, and they can grow together, and she teaches him all this shit, and it's comical. It really is. It's freaking awesome. But anyway,
that sounds interesting.
All right, guys. Again, thank you for joining us. We'll catch you guys
we'll redo the giveaway next time around.
Yeah.
So stay tuned, guys. Stay tuned.
I'll do another a live stream. I don't know what I'll do, but I'll end up asking another question for somebody to win that book, and then we'll move on to something else. Maybe I'll do a different book series that I'm into, and I'll give that book away. Hell, I might even do the Land's first book. You never know. So, anyway, guys, I'll catch you guys later. Luke, AK, as always, thank you for joining me.
Peace, love, and the perfect margarita.
Reading.
Hey, you got to
No
destroy.
rule.
You have to crush your enemies, honor your allies, and live. Peace.